Hi, I'm back. Didn't expect to see all that news going down. I want to talk about it, and we need to call in some commands. I'm outside. I'm in North Texas. I'm right down 40 minutes from where we had that explosion. I want to talk about that. We're gonna have to make some commands. I'm outside right now. The wind gusts are starting to pick up here in Texas. It's getting a little bit chillier, but mainly it's real strong wind gusts that Texas is experiencing right now because of this grid, just that monopoly board that I've been talking about. Even I ended that last live with a hotel reference, and boom shakalaka. I don't know if you can hear it. I'm on here with all of y'all. This is my backyard where I've planted this energy in 2018. If you were with me on YouTube then, as we were preparing for this, I'm gonna walk inside. Y'all just walk with me through the house. We're gonna go upstairs. I just needed to be outside, and I needed y'all to be in the nature and in the wind with me. What I'm seeing, well, first of all, my mind is a little boggled right now. I had to go back a couple of times. That's a real one. That's what's saving our ass right now. FYI. Since they stole all those contracts and did all this technical stuff with Lockheed Martin. Lockheed Martin, one of our clients in Houston. NASA, one of our clients in Houston. Brown and Root. Halliburton. The whole crew. NASA, can't tell you how many times we were involved with NASA from the technical perspective. In the early 2000s, which is what this is all linking into. So what I'm seeing, first of all, in a wide open astronomy 0-point birthing gate, there goes the wind. They sent up a VULCAN Centaur. Now, what have we been talking about? We've been talking about what it is what it is. What it's called is what it is. So they sent up a VULCAN Centaur. Now, Centaur, on the evolution scale, is the hinge that was holding Orion way out in space where it shouldn't be. It basically, those Centauri suns, which were a part of, and why we had to even walk through this twin union crap, because most of the BS that was put on what all this twin union stuff was about, the majority of it, that was linked into the original program for those of us who were sun children, those of us who mummified, Essenes, all that stuff. Especially the ancients that were mummified for it. Like the bodies that they've been pulling DNA from and started wars and blamed even other countries for having weapons of mass destruction, also that they could go get one specific body of DNA. Well, I walked this journey. So I know that in August, it was either July or August of 2022, is when I finally took my right arm out of the sun. And when I did it, now this is right before I went raw. When I did it, and that whole thing ended up going down, and I pulled my arm out, and I knew I was pulling my arm out of the sun, and I looked at it, and it had that weird, and on my hand basically was that weird glove that you see in DC Comics, you know, where he's got the stones on the knuckles and all the stones, the mass destruction, all that stuff. I had that glove on. As soon as I saw that I had that glove on, I remember my reaction, because I was in it 100, and my reaction was, I don't want this thing. This isn't why I did this. I don't want this. I don't want this power. This is not why I did this. And so I took off the glove and I put it in a box that was marked the quickest story possible for us to clear it. Right after that is when I passed out in the garage, and I went into the halls of Aminte, and I knew that I went raw. Now, I had already had to do a lobotomy on the 2 women in the house, because we were clearing and connecting the DNA. One of them was Andromedan. The other was what was left of a 25% Rothschild brain. And us 3 that were the final ones in that house, and basically one of those women ended up being the white wolf, because I was the white calf woman, and then I did the calf. The calf was another person that ended up being the final 4th person in the house in Anaheim, in the Spirit Cookhouse, when they were trying to spinal tap me in order to grid me and keep me in the fucking sun. That part. If you don't know my chart, I'm like Arcturus. Everything that I've got is Arcturus, and it's hinged. So I know that I had, man, the wind is going nuts. I know that I had 1 foot. I was in 4th position. If you know ballet, in the ethers, the way that they had the etheric body gridded down. Now, remind you that what I'm talking about is going to be the highest template of the divine feminine etheric body. So every single one of us, this is basically the outside etheric, if you want to say, a skin that was holding us all together. But we were L4, so on the M2 sun. So Centauri would be like where my wrist is. Spica is all the way up here, which is where we ended up. Arcturus is over here, and then Betelgeuse and all that Orion stuff's way out here, and then Sirius and all that's way down there. And what they were doing was stretching everything out from the Centauri suns, and they had stretched it. And the easiest way to describe it from a timeline and timeline flips is like flypaper that was like sticky on both sides. And for an example, like 1960 to 1969, like that whole timeline flip was them stretching it like taffy and then flipping it. And that's how, in a simple form, in a simple way to describe it, and this is how I've been being shown as we've been flipping it, because basically we've been uncoiling that flypaper. And this is how some of us were upside down, being, because our feet, the boots, Arcturus, your boots, this is why the Arcturian sun is so big, because this is how long this has been going on. So I knew that we were in 4th position which is 1 foot here and 1 foot here, both feet turned out. So your legs kind of spread and feet not together. So what we were seeing last night is that I had another foot on another M sun, but it would have been an M sun probably down by Cancer on the dark side. And then M2 was where the other one was gridded. But all connected into the Arcturian sun, which is massive, massive source. So what they just did was take a Vulcan, first of all. Vulcan is what a Vulcan Centaur rocket, and they tried to basically dock the sun. They tried to because they're upset because they weren't able to face the sun, because the sun was supposed to give them battery power. But the problem is everything's not normal up there. We pulled out of there. We ain't holding it up no more. There ain't no feminine body out there. In fact, if you're blowing crap out into space right now, I mean, you're retarded. There ain't nothing there. There ain't nothing out there. Because it basically imploded and went white out, almost like a vacuum, because the antimatter has been completely blown out. I was a 3 trillion year star. That's how far we had to come back in to. And then land on the moon with dead people's ashes by paid for commercial members with our own money. That part. None of the money that they're currently spending lavishly on any of this even belongs to any of them. It's our current, it's our money, and then I can guarantee you that the ashes that they had on there were belonging to some type of murderer, some type of Escobar, some type of man who freaking knows. Probably even attached to some of the ancient Sumerians. In order to try to keep us out there. Now, whenever I pulled my arm out, and when I did that lobotomy, y'all, what ended up happening to me, and this is how I knew I went raw, because, see, I'm a healer, and whenever you're a healer, and you call this stuff in, and you do the physics, violation warning for hate speech. Whatever. I dropped some F-bombs on here, and you're gonna get mad at me, but yet you're trying to harness our entire freaking bloodlines into a blown up sun and moon. Look how I'm turning colors. What happened is when I did that because their brains were wrong. This is how I figured out that not only there were two that were working into one brain pattern, and this was all of us that were down here somehow, how it was going to play out with what they're doing right now. This is how I figured out that the right brain had been put in a left brain sack, because they're doing crazy stuff like this on rebirth DNA, cosmic lineups that print your DNA. This is why all of us were getting sick. This is why all of it's because they're doing this stuff during these cosmic lineups. When I did that, I lost all control of my face for about 5 minutes. And let me tell you, it's the scariest thing physically that I've been through with this, because I couldn't control my face. I had muscles that were going off everywhere, moving and distorting. Distorting. I was sitting Indian style on the floor, and I just felt like I was falling through space, because there was nothing holding the muscular form, and my whole face went into I just had to, how I stopped it was knowing, I knew that I had just, a day before I had finished that lobotomy, I knew that I had gone into the halls of Amente, all the physics that I had done, and I knew that we were completing the corrections to the right and left brain, and I just had to go up into my third eye and basically stare straight and balance it until it stopped moving. I believe this is what's going on right now. When I went up to Spica in 2021, when y'all shot me up there, the main thing was we had to figure out how to fix the brain because of the mind control and how everything had been taken over with the frequencies down here for so long. And it was basically, we had to do it the way they did it. And when I was up there and I was talking to him, I remember saying, "You're not going to like this." And then I found out later that it was me that wasn't going to like it. Because we were going to have to do it the same way they did it, but we were just going to have to speed up the process. And it had to do with splitting Sirius B open. Sirius B would be it's like the bottom of the ocean. It's the bottom of space. It's everything. You'd weigh 10,000 pounds or so in Sirius B. It's a density that is beyond measure, almost. This is why those of us who have Sirian consciousness see things the way we see them in number codes, and we're able to do what we can do in high density spaces. It's why most of us don't even recognize a low density, because we're used to a dense space vector. But this is where the mind was. So in a lot of ways, we had to crack open the mind in order to get it reconnected because of what has been going on. That explosion is linked to the divine feminine and linked to that's basically that explosion in Fort Worth, in downtown Fort Worth. And it was right by Houston Street. And SANDMAN Hotels has been involved with this with me since 2018. The SANDMAN signature hotels are attached to the National Hockey League and the Dallas Stars. The SANDMAN signature hotels also usually host a restaurant called Moxie. Moxie has freestanding hotels and restaurants as well, but that's who they're typically partnered with. Moxie has been a part of this and has a billboard at my son's hockey place. And hockey and the hockey leagues have been the number one league that I've had to deal with, even more so than football. Football was more like from an energetic auditorium, being able to assist it was like the auditoriums were hosting energy. The auditoriums, the collective's been able to attach to and use energetically to assist the collective in doing a lot of things, because the football auditoriums were energy generators. But the hockey stuff, all of your hockey rinks are connected to your water towers. All of the hockey rinks are by public water systems. You put a galactic being on some metal skates on ice in the middle of a wide open ascension, and they could carve holes into space. The entire Plano network of hockey down here was involved in setting me up, to the point where I was going to my son's hockey games. We were in the, this is before everything got nuts and I started integrating with people, because we started blowing this out in 2018. They had all the toilets taped off and roped off except for one in a period of time, and they were doing it to collect DNA. This was in Plano. This Plano is basically NOLA. This is where Andy Beal was. This is where your telecom corridor was. It's where your financial system was split from 6 to 8 dimensions. All of it has been, because of the way the financials and because of the way that it had been Mason run, was connected, most of it, into your currents in Texas. And in the end, Texas pulled it out. In the end, Texas was the only land that was left that was not distorted by AI. That is now uncoiling. That Sandman Hotel is where I was in 2018, right before I drank the AI, right before they flew me to Florida, to Pomona, Florida, a woman that worked for 5G, right before they did that and gridded us to Florida in 2000, at the beginning of 2019. At the end of 2018, they sent me the Hopi codes. And this is how they did it. This is how we know that we were even making these races. This is how we ended up even making even the Middle Eastern people. That's how they would do it to us. If you didn't know how it worked, I'm telling you how it worked. Through a wide open ascension, what they were doing was sending lines of codes to us in a wide open gate, to where we would have to take on those codes and basically embody them, to clear them. Because this was the Rainbow Prophecy. This is how it was done. But that Sandman Hotel is where I was when the government sent me the Hopi codes in 2018. Not the one in Fort Worth, the one over here in Frisco. The one that blew in Fort Worth was at Houston Street, and it was a 1920 bank. Then it became an XTO, and I've been in that building. In fact, that might be the building that I had to go get the check from. They were one of my clients. Whenever my company got stole, when they stole the assets of my company, what they did is steal all the contracts, and then they went behind my back telling everybody that I was still involved with the company, and then went and renegotiated technical contracts with all the Fortune 100 companies that I had under my name. And the company is still freaking running because they took everything and then took all my money. It's a whole thing, right? The only thing I haven't had is money the whole time in order to fight this. This is why it's gotten away to the extent that it has. If you don't care, you should. Because what ended up happening to me is what is now playing out for the world. Because it's how they set it up. They think it's a natural gas explosion, okay? But it took out the whole first and second floor of that building. Every single window on the first and second floor was blown out. The whole first and second floor was blown out. the fact that there weren't any casualties yet, there's one in critical, but the fact that there weren't just bodies everywhere tells me that it was part of this, and we did the best we could in order to hold it up. So, you know, because every time we're involved, it's not about hurting people. It's just about freeing the grids and freeing the energy. This is the first day of the 4-day in 1 day. And there's one of your, man, I wouldn't be surprised if we end up having an event like this every day, every day the next 4 days. That is basically when I was talking about the Monopoly board, and I'm talking about and then putting a medal wherever we were, because realize it's connected into the water system, it's connected into the ashes, it's connected to the Hopi, it's connected into the Indians, it's connected into the mounds, it's connected into the pyramids, it's connected into all of it. At the same time that they're sending ashes up into the moon and trying to dock the sun that's blowing up. Now, what happens with the natural gas is that it's all pressure changes. If you have anybody around you that is involved in the public works, I have told everybody that I come across, I mean, everybody, I will pull over on the side of the road whenever I see them in my physical, especially in California. Those 2 years I was there. Because the water pressure, the natural gas pressure, all of that is changing. These factories that are blowing up, it's all because the physics are changing and the pressures are changing. And they need to adjust those pressures or everything's going to blow. This is just the start. So if you know anybody who works in those plants, or you know anybody in public works, or you have some type of connection, or put it out there with me in the consciousness that this is going to keep happening, because we just got started. This hinge, the G core, the connection to source that's all going underneath has been pulled out completely, and you can't harness it to the freaking moon. Zeta. When I ended that last live, there was one thing that I wanted to tell y'all, and then I didn't get to it, and then now I'm kind of realizing why. That Zeta Reticuli point at 3 to the 23rd, so that's at the 23rd dimension. Well, 232 is your highest dimension of feminine codes, and 232 would basically be the sun. 323 is the highest dimension of masculine codes, and it's basically the moon. 232 and 323 added together make up 555, what then is attached to all your Egyptian pyramid lines. All a full-blown line, a full and ancient connection is going to be a 555, which is why Reese, Reeves, Renee, I brought this up in another, and now we've got a rocket that's called, they're calling this whole mission Peregrine. E-R-E, Eris, Eros. 555 is going to give you a full-on sun and moon. So, 323, Zeta Reticuli, the moon, the false moon. Now, we rebirthed the moon. And we did it. I'd have to go look back. It's been a couple. It wasn't the last new moon. I think it might have been the new moon before that. And I knew in the dimension that the ascended was in, which wasn't all the way down here yet. We birthed a new moon, a brand new one that was attached to our DNA count. It's not hard to do because unbeknownst to the human race, as you go higher and higher in the cosmos, we're going to see 2 suns. We're going to see 3 moons. Then we'll see 2 moons. Then we'll see 1 moon, because we got to get all the way around those M suns in order to hit and go back into the M35, because we birthed the M30. I mean, we polled when we took this simulation out of the 88th dimension, and out of, I'm not even sure which sun they had polled, to be honest. I don't think we still, because even if the simulation was running off a Centauri that's below Orion, and then the M1, M2, and M3 suns basically project through Orion, just like one of those old TVs that has the red, green, and blue light that then projects. That's Orion. And then in that situation, you can think of it as the M1 sun was one color, the M2 sun was the other color, and the M3 sun was the other color. But this is how they were controlling everything. Now, that goes back to what I was talking about at the beginning, where I knew that I had been, and this was the Divine Feminine, had been polled as the M2. Well, if you go look up M2 sun, that's your solar system. This is why I'm telling you, we aren't just ascending a planet. We're ascending the solar system. And this is what they go do today. They launched that at 5:35. Well, that's the exact position of Jupiter when it stopped. Jupiter just now started progressing, and this is going back to October 13th, 1972, that plane crash. Whenever I came on and did that video, and we were also talking about the Titanic, and when the Titanic went down, we had MC aligned with Jupiter. This was a very flagrant, whatever that word is, purposeful maneuver to grid us down. That part. FYI. So, that's it. Ndara se quieren dora morindi asadera se quieren pote se quieren dara morindi. Any entity or any DNA count that paid for DNA to be sent up there, I don't care what DNA went up there, your line's being deleted. Any being that put somebody in a spacecraft for the past 10 freaking years to send DNA up into space in order to distort the DNA, in order to try to stop this, your lines are being deleted. We're done. We ain't messing with it anymore.